I will be doing a quick tank review for the German Tier 8 light tank, the HWK 12. This vehicle, for the most part, it is just like the predecessor, the SP1C in most of the ways. So there is not much of a learning curve between these two tanks as they handle the same for the most part. Remember, just like the SP1C, the HWK 12, this light tank, if you want to do quite well in this tank, you have to use the appropriate tactics and play toward the vehicle's strengths and weaknesses, as you can be killed easily enough, just like in the SP1C. Let's get into the vehicle stats now. The vehicle stats, when it is fully upgraded, it is pretty good for the most part. The main gun you will be using, it's a very good 90mm gun. With the correct equipment and perks here, you can easily have up to 9 rounds per a minute with a quick reload time. Most of the rounds that you will be firing, you can penetrate most of the targets easily enough with, on average, 180mm for AP when it comes to front, sides, and rear. Especially when you're flanking heavy sides and rear. The heat rounds have pretty good penetration, 250, so you are able to penetrate most of the heavy armored tanks. Armored spots, if you know what to aim the round at. When it comes to the damage of the gun, it is not that great nor bad. 240 on average. So if you want to reduce a full hit point tank down to 0, you have to fire a good amount of rounds into the enemy tank, or have backup. The gun, it is pretty accurate, .36 with a good aiming time of 2 seconds. So most of the time, as long as you fully aim in onto the target, you will hit them most of the time. The turret turns around quickly enough at 47 degrees, so combine the fantastic turret reverse with the hold reverse, this tank can turn around on a dime if need be. The gun depression, it is fantastic. 10 downward, so you can heel fight with this if need be, with the gun depression of 15 upward. This gun, it is more of a support gun than anything else, as most of the time you will have backup when you are going up against that enemy tank. Now the survival ability, just like the SP1C, it's nothing to write home about. Hit points, you have 1100, so you can take a good amount of damage before you are killed. Now the armor, it is completely rubbish. 14mm all around for the hull, turret front is 15, side and rear 10. The armor, it is paper thin, so the modules and the crew members, they can be damaged easily enough. So expect everything to penetrate you. If you angle the armor at times, and if RNG is on your side, then a round may just damage a module at a time, then just ricochets off elsewhere. Besides that, everything will penetrate you. Now, the vehicle mobility with the top engine, it is fantastic for weighing about 13 tons. With the top engine of 450 horsepower, you have a horsepower to ton ratio of 35 horsepower to 1 ton. That means most of the time, when you are on flat terrain, going in a straight line or going downhill, you can easily reach the 65 km mark quickly enough, with a fantastic reverse speed of 23. With both of those speeds, if you know what you are doing, you can get yourself out of a pretty bad situation quickly enough, with the fantastic holdovers of 50 degrees. Now, the concealment for the vehicle, it's not that bad nor good. It is about 17. So as long as you use the camouflage around you and distance, you will be off of enemy radar for the most part. So you can be quite the effective passive scout when you are using the terrain around you, distance, camouflage net, camouflage paint, and the camouflage perk to increase the camouflage rating even more. The equipment that I have here, I would be primarily be playing it as a mix between a support role, a offensive light tank, and a passive scout, with a bit of a sniper role. The vehicle spotting, it is okay. The base view range, it is 410 meters, without the binocular telescope on. You can easily have the maximum view range when you are using coded optics or binocular telescope if you have it laying around. The radio signal range, it is pretty good at 760 meters, so most of the time you will be staying in radio contact with your team. Now, let's get into the research part of the tank now. The research for the tank itself. It's a easy tank that you will go through ASAP to move on to either the RU-251 or the Leopard Prototype A, as you will just have to research the top turret and that is it. The rest of the equipment here that is upgradable, it is optional, but it just improves the tank performance by a bit. Let's begin off with the tracks. To mount all of the equipment onto the tank here and not go over the weight limit when everything is mounted, you will have to use the top pair of tracks. Besides for the load limit increase, your holdovers increases from 38 to 44, which is pretty good to have a 6 degrees holdovers increase for the second pair of tracks for unlocking it and using it, just for that reason alone. Engines, you have two to use. The first engine is a 350 horsepower engine, while the second one it's a 450 horsepower engine with a reduced engine fire chance at 12. If you are just going through this tank ASAP, you can go through this tank grind, use the first engine throughout the entire grind, and have a relatively good horsepower to ton ratio still. But if you want to have a slightly better horsepower to ton ratio, unlock and use the top engine as that extra 100 horsepower. It does make a bit of a difference, especially having a reduction in the fires from 15 to 12. Turrets, you have two. These two turrets, they are roughly the same for the vehicle stats, except for you have slightly better gun handling stats, more hit points, and a slightly better view range when you are using the top turret. The gun itself, as I mentioned before, you have one gun to use here only, the 90mm Mica and gun. The rate of fire, it is okay. I have about 9 rounds per minute. The penetration is pretty good across the board for the most part if you know where you're aiming at, with a average damage output of 240, which is pretty good. Combine that with the rest of the team aid that you have, focus fire on one target, you can easily reduce a 4 hit point tank down to 0. While the gun is pretty accurate, have a quick aim time as well. Now, let's cover the consumables, the ammunition layout, the equipment, and how are you going to be using the HWK-12. Let's begin off with the consumables. I would go with the standard consumables selection here, small first aid kit, small repair kit, and a manual fire extinguisher. The third option, if you want to have the manual fire extinguisher replaced, going with the chocolate rations is not a bad idea if you have some laying around to receive the crew bonus when it is being used. Besides that, using the premium consumables, I leave it up to you if you want to use them or not, as they can be quite pricey to use, with what per minute bonus it does offer you. This vehicle, when it comes to the ammunition of it, you have a lot of ammo, 50 rounds. So most of the matches you will be playing in this tank, you will never run out of ammo in this tank. The two main ammo types you will be using, it is AP and heat. AP will penetrate most of the targets, as long as you know the vehicle weak spots, or if you can get to the vehicle sides or rear of the vehicle armor. Heat, this is going to be one of those useful ammo types that can be quite pricey at times, but as long as you use it wisely enough against a heavily armored target, you can easily penetrate most of the TR-8s, 9 and 10 heavy armor tank easily enough. You can do it with regular AP as well, but knowing the vehicle weak spot is a must. Each heat round that you fire will cost you 11 gold or 4,400. HE, this is going to be one of those maybe useful ammo types at this tier area still, especially if you are going up against the other thinly armored light tanks or SPGs or even TDs at times. The penetration value, it is not that great for HE, but if you do hit a set thinly armored target, you can do a good amount of damage to it still. Besides that, you will mainly stick to firing AP and heat, with the odd HE round in between if you're going up against a thinly armored target. The equipment that I have here is to improve the playstyle that I have for this tank so far. It's a mix between a passive scout role, sniper, a support tank, and being on the offensive as well. So I went with the binocular telescope, the medium caliber tank gun rammer, and vents to improve the tank performance by a bit. The other pieces of equipment that you can use if you want to. If you go with the vertical stabilizer and combine that with the enhanced gunling drive, you will increase the accuracy of the gun while on the move and during turret reputation as well, was having a reduced aim time by a bit. Now, for the viewing enhancements, you may or may not want to use them. Coiled optics, you get a plus 10 per minute view range when it is equipped. So you will have roughly the maximum view range in the game easily enough, up to 450 meters, when you add in the crew modifier as well. Binocular telescope, I generally find this is more useful, as you can easily take it on and off without paying the gold fee. Now, the camouflage net, this is something you may or may not use based upon your preferred play style in the tank. If you're planning to play as primarily as a passive scout and being a sniper most of the time, the camouflage net is a good idea to go with that, as it improves your camouflage rating. Combine that with the camouflage paint, the terrain around you, and the camouflage perk. Besides that, everything else here, it is not that useful. As a tier 8 light tank, you will have tier 8 matchmaking between tier 8 to tier 10. So most of the time, I generally found myself getting into tier 9 and 10 matches. But whenever you're top tier and you play to your vehicle's strengths and weaknesses, you can do quite well in this tank. The main role that you will be playing the HWK in, just like the SP1C before you got to this vehicle, is primarily being the team active or passive scout at times, and not dying too early. The other roles that the HWK is pretty good at, it is filling the support role. When you are being the flanking type of light tank, the support light tank, or if you are able to use your speed quite effectively well enough, you can wolf pack with other light tanks and medium tanks to either kill a lone or a group of enemy tanks quickly enough. The other roles that the HWK is pretty good at when it comes to distance, as I said before, is the passive scout role and being a pretty good medium to a short distance sniper most of the time, due to the amazing gun accuracy and aiming time you have. I have one replay to show you how well you can do in the tank itself. This replay, I am in a tier 8 match to show you how well you can do in the HWK 12 when you are playing quite aggressively and toward the vehicle's strengths and weaknesses. First thing first, I look at the map where I need to go. I am heading to the bottom right part of the map there to advance my team push in that area. This tank, it is pretty nimble, which is quite good. When I was playing this vehicle out to get the necessary experience, I find myself at times flipping this vehicle quite easily at times. That Cromwell, I shot. I could have had hit the vehicle and penetrated it. I wait for some backup here. The IKV is in the back there, going to be moving up soon with the AMX and the M4. here I tried to get a quick shot on the Jackson there, but missed. Seeing my error, I shoot at this SU-122-44, knowing I can pen it with regular AP rounds. So far, so good, taking no damage. But the SU finally hits me, but only damaged the observation port. I waited for a moment to see if any other vehicles would have had lit up, but unfortunately no. That VK3601H. I tried to aim the Capella at this range, finally getting a hit there. I see my teammates in the 9-9. They are making their push, so I am using my vehicle mobility here to outflank the Jackson and try not to get hit. The Tiger, he is moving backwards, so I can't exactly flank the vehicle. Between me and my allies, this Tiger 1 go down quickly enough. I am doing pretty good so far. Losing about a bit more than half of my hit points so far. And doing about 2,000 damage so far. Now there are the T-28, the M41, and the T-34 to deal with. With the T-28 by itself, I will aid my AMX ally and finish the vehicle off. Using the repair kit a bit early, or before I got hit, would have been a good idea. So far, doing pretty good. I did about 2,500 damage so far, and it's everyone against the T-34-1 now. I am getting myself into a position where the T-34-1 will be killed quickly enough, so I am getting myself into a position and being the bait for the T-34. This T-34 will be picked to pieces quickly enough by my teammates. If the T-34 wasn't killed ASAP, we would have had one by capping anyways. This replay I did quite well for being in a tier 8 match. To show you the vehicle capacity when you are playing toward the vehicle's strengths and weaknesses, when you're playing it primarily as a very aggressive light tank. This match, I got myself 4 kills and did about 2,500 damage, which is quite nice. Let's go to the garage now to do a brief recap on the tank itself. Let's do a brief recap on the HWK. Just like the predecessor before it, as long as you play toward the vehicle's strengths, weaknesses, and use the appropriate tactics at the right time, this is going to be one of those light tanks that you can do quite well at the higher tier area still. No matter if you are the top tier tank or not in the match. The important thing to remember about the Z-Tank itself, just like the predecessor, if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, you can be killed easily enough. Besides that, as long as you have the general experience and know what you are doing so far, playing light tanks up to this point, you should do quite well in this tank for the most part. Overall, the HWK, it's pretty good light tank to use in general. I hope that you learn a thing or two about the tank and how to use it properly. If you like this video, leave a like, a comment, and even subscribe to my channel. Good luck on the battlefield, everyone.